What's up guys, Justin with the Podcast Dojo. I want to talk to you guys about this crazy idea I have. So we've all thought about what we would do if we won the lottery or fell into a large sum of money. Whether it be buying that dream car you've always wanted, the dream house, or even go on the vacation of a lifetime. Me? One of the big spends. Get ready for this. I would rebuild the Walnut Mall in Petersburg, Virginia. Now why would I do this, you ask? Well, it's a place that has always fascinated me since I learned of its existence. Also, with all the research I've done with dead malls, I would like to write this out and see what others think of my idea to run it. What are some factors we are going to keep in mind here? Well, we want to think about the income of the area. We also don't want shops and restaurants that are out of price range for the locals, but we also don't want something so cheap that it's unappealing. After all, we want to try to attract people from neighboring towns too. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Okay, so the big question is where would I build the new Walnut Mall? So we're actually across the street from the original Walnut Mall location. But of course you got a Food Lion there now. So it doesn't make much sense to get rid of a thriving business. So what we'll do is we would refurbish this lot right here and turn it into the new location. Fun little bit of trivia for you. The old Sears and Kmart used to be here. A quick Google search told me that Petersburg has a population of about 31,997 people in it, with a median range being about 38.8. The median income is around $31,798 a year. So we want stores that aren't too pricey but also don't appeal to a very young crowd or a much older crowd. So let's begin with the structure of the building. I want to build it the same way it was when it closed in 1991. The reason is not only because this was the mall I was so fascinated with, but I'm willing to bet nostalgia alone might draw people in. This means that we are going to keep this at 2 anchors with 30 to 35 stores. Something we want to keep in mind is that the mall that killed the original Walnut Mall was South Park Mall, and that's only about 10 miles away. While we are not necessarily trying to compete with them or siphon their business, in a way we are trying to offer people something that they can't get at South Park Mall. So with that out of the way, let's start with our stores. Let's begin with our list of stores. Let's start with the easiest ones, the anchor stores. Walnut Mall had 2, Thalheimer's and JCPenney's. JCPenney's is already at South Park Mall, and Thalheimer's stopped their department stores in 1991. For our 2 anchors, we are going to have Target and Bowl America. Target because it's a department store that has reasonable prices. Plus, I know as someone who lives in Petersburg, I would love to have a Target nearby instead of dealing with the traffic in Colonial Heights. Now why Bowl America? This is a shopping mall, right? Well, here's a theory I have. I think that malls should try to have more recreational activities in them because it's an incentive to get people to go to the mall. Now as I mentioned, this is a shopping mall, so what about the other stores? Well, before we get into that, let's talk about restaurants. Walnut Mall never had a food court because it was built way before food courts were a thing. There was only 1 restaurant or 2 at the beginning, and we will keep it that way. But why keep it that way? Well, for one, there's already a few restaurants around Walnut Mall, such as McDonald's and a few Chinese restaurants. So I would do a fast food restaurant, which would be Qdoba. It's a popular chain, and the closest one is in Midlothian, so to not have to drive that far for Qdoba gives Walnut Mall the edge. How about a sit-down restaurant? The old Walnut Mall had a seafood restaurant, so we will come up with our own restaurant. I'll call it Catch of the Day. Generic name, I know. But I have a feeling with not many seafood restaurants around, we might have an edge here. The reason I didn't pick a national chain like Applebee's or Ruby Tuesdays is that it seems like a lot of those chains aren't doing as well as they once were. So let's talk about how we're going to handle the management. The mall will always have typical hours for a shopping mall, which is about 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. during the week, except closing at 6 p.m. on Sundays. The exception, of course, being our 2 anchors in the restaurants, which will have outside access. We've got to make sure we have security. Petersburg, I do feel, gets a bit of an unfair reputation sometimes. Yes, it can be very sketchy in some parts of town. But to keep people feeling safe and wanting to come back, security is a must. This next part goes hand in hand with how we get our other stores. Since we are given a lot to work with, to attract new tenants, we are going to give new tenants their first 3 months free. Overall, I think that a mall today could work, but I feel with online shopping we need to make it mixed use with recreation and shopping. So what do you think? Could this idea work? Let me know down below. Overall, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something. Until next time.